Hi, everybody. Welcome to Science World. My name is Brian. We are so excited you can join us tonight for electricity and winter safety. Now, something I love about winter, it gets darker so much sooner, so you can put amazing lights up around your house. You can decorate things. We do that all year round. If you want to see, this is actually what one of these lights up on the Science World Dome looks like all through the year. Now, these lights up here, it might look like a Zoom background, but I'm actually here on the roof of Science World with you right now. We can change the color of these lights, but I thought it would be fun to try a little sparkly pattern today. So I have a little computer here, my iPad, that can control and program all of the lights on the dome. And with your help, we're going to get something a little bit spectacular to start the show off. So put some emojis, type some things in there, throw some comments on, show your excitement as we build up here, because we're getting ready to start our electricity and winter safety show. Check it out. I'll see you downstairs. Enjoy the show.
Thanks, Brian. That was amazing. I am so jealous of you getting to be up at the top of Science World. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stefano, and I'm reaching out to you here in the Bits and Bytes studio at Science World. I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Thanks for joining us. I encourage you to look into the place where you are from and the traditional lands that are around you. So, thanks for being here tonight. We have got a very fun show for you, electricity and winter safety. We've got some fun folks and fun tricks up our sleeve as far as demonstrations and experts. And I just want to say what a pleasure it is. Now, you've probably noticed so far, I'm probably not here all alone. We've got a great team of fantastic folks here at Science World. They're helping me out. We've got Jeff doing some technical stuff. Hi, Jeff. Thanks so much. I've got Ashley moderating the chat. You've probably noticed that already on the side of your screen. Brian's on his way down from the roof, of course. And we've got a special guest from BC Hydro joining us today, and that's Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Jamie's here, and he's going to have some special guests for us special things for us to enjoy throughout the show. And I'd like to thank BC Hydro also generally, because they help us out here at Science World in so many different ways, including getting out to schools across the province. Now, speaking of across the province, you probably are joining us from somewhere across the province. I'd like to use that wonderful chat function we have there. So get your fingers ready and get into that chat and put in there maybe where you're from, maybe your name if you want to let us know. We'll give some shout outs throughout the show, and we'll do this throughout the whole presentation. So please continue to do that. If you have recently had a school program that visited your school virtually, please let us know what school that is. We'd like to know that you're here with us today. And we've got so many wonderful things we want to hear about from you, not just from us. There are nerds everywhere. There are experts in everything all around us. That includes you. So, you probably noticed that we're wearing our masks. Of course, safety is very important to us, and here at Science World, we have high strict protocols. We love science, and we love following rules, and we hope you do that at home as well. As I mentioned in the chat, you can also use those emojis to let us know what you love, what you like, and you can give us applause, all those fun buttons that you can push. We love when you do that. We really do. Ashley's letting us know how that's going along. So, Brian's not here yet, so I get to fill time a little bit with some science, and I'm pretty excited to do so. Electricity and winter safety, that's the subject of tonight's show. So, the thing is about electricity, it's very complex. At an atomic level, we're talking about electrons that spin around an atom, and they move from atom to atom. Now, that's very fine and dandy, but you can't quite see them. Electricity is actually not a noun, it's an adjective. We talk about electrical current, electrical energy, electrical charge. It's kind of complex. Now, the thing that you really want to know is that sometimes if something has a positive or a negative charge, it can either attract or repel. We notice this with static electricity, for example. And also, when there's too many electrons or different values of electrons on objects, that changes things. Electrical energy is really exciting also because it can transform into different things like light energy and sound energy. I've got something right here to show you. I've got here what I like to call an energy stick. Oh, there it is. At one end, it's got a little metal, and on the other end, it's got some more metal. And when I actually put my hand on the other end, as you noticed, it lights up and makes a fun sound. Yes, this is the toy you want to give your cousins. There you go. Now what's happening there is I'm actually completing a circuit. So when I am connecting my body to this part, it's less this light battery charge, so nothing harmful at all. It's going around. What's exciting about this to me is that this shows us about things that conduct electricity and do not conduct electricity. I can do a quick test and grab a pencil, which is made of wood, and you can write in the chat if you think this pencil made of wood will conduct or not conduct. Let's test it out. No conductivity with the wooden pencil. What about a pom-pom? Nothing. Surely a cute little marshmallow will be able to conduct some electricity. Not so much. All right, what about water? Water, let's see, some water. I got water, it's in a glass. Here we go, I'm gonna put it in. Do you think it's a good idea to put electricity in water? I don't know. Yes, no, in the chat? Well, I have definitely a trained adult, and I have done this before, and I can guarantee you that this is safe, but definitely don't ever do experiments that you don't know around electricity, especially at home. I'm gonna test it out though. Here we go, I'm gonna put it in the water. Nothing. All right, but there's a glass between the water and the thing. So if I put my finger in the glass all of a sudden, my finger through the water does turn on the light and sound of this device. So water can be very conductive. It's very important. This will come up throughout the show because we're also made of water and people are conductors. So we got to be super safe. So we don't generally want electricity to travel through us, especially when it's more than just a toy battery like that, when it's something larger. Can you please do me a favor and put in the chat places where you see or use electricity? It can be something that you use around the home. It can be something that you see out in nature. Put it out there. I want to know what you think of when you think of electricity. Please and thank you. Still waiting for Brian. Oh, hang on. I had a text while I was doing that whole thing. Oh, he stopped at the science theater. He stopped at the science theater. Jeff, can you cut to that camera? I think.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was on my way downstairs and I remembered here in the science theater at Science World, we have another really cool electrical thing that I wanted to show you. We're talking about electrical energy. All the electrical energy that powers things like this LED light that we find on the top of Science World. Well, this is an invention called a Tesla coil. Now, this was invented by a guy named Nikola Tesla. He lived over 100 years ago. He invented a lot of amazing things, but this was a really cool concept. Mr. Tesla thought, what if we could broadcast uncontrolled electrical energy through the air? We wouldn't have to send wires out all over the neighborhood. You could power things from the energy coming out into the air. And his machine works. I'll show you. I turn things on here. If you see any sparks or hear anything interesting, make a note down in the chat. We are turning electrical energy into light energy and sound energy as it rips through the air. Now, those big sparks are interesting by themselves, but I want to show you with this light bulb over here. Before I do that, though, let's remind you about electrical safety. Now, all those sparks you see, all that energy coming out, it's looking for a way to get down into the ground. Now, we are a really good way for that energy to get down into the ground. We have lots of water in our bodies. We have lots of salt. Those are both good conductors of electricity. I'm going to plug in my little grounding rod here. And this little green wire will allow me to take some of that electrical energy and carry it down into the ground. Another safety thing we have here, I can't turn this thing on or off unless I use this little foot switch. This just means that I'm keeping myself safe. Now watch. There's our little sparks. I'm going to dim the lights and watch those electrical sparks. Finding a way, the quickest and easiest way down into the ground is through this little green wire. All right, one last thing we want to show you here, and that is this light bulb. Now let me grab my lighting control here. Look carefully and notice there are no wires between me and the Tesla coil. Our little foot pump just blows air. There are no wires between the Tesla coil and my light bulb. But if we dim the lights and turn on the Tesla coil, energy is being broadcast through the air and lighting up that bulb with uncontrolled electrical energy broadcast all around us. All right, I've got to get downstairs. Enjoy the rest of the show. I will see you in just a minute.
Oh my goodness, Brian. That was pretty wild. I am so glad you stopped on your way down. Well, you can't hear me right now, but I'm just saying that for him down the line. We usually actually post this to YouTube channel afterwards, so if you want to watch this whole presentation again, you can do that. Speaking of watching, you are all doing a fantastic job of telling me where you're watching from. I've got, let's see, all sorts of folks from all over the Lower Mainland, from Vancouver, Richmond, New Westminster, Callista from East Van. Hi, Callista. See, I get some shout-outs there. Steele and Amal said that they are super, super jazzed about those dome lights that we showed you at the top of the show and wanted to sort of wish they could see them live. Well, you can see them live. First of all, you can come step outside the building, well, watch us from outside the building sometimes. But if you're curious what color sequences are going to be on our dome at any given time, we have that on our website. Go to our website, scienceworld.ca, and just type in dome lights, and it should come up, and you can see what's scheduled. And we do that, of course, for referencing and respecting and honoring different occasions as well. I asked, of course, also where you use your lights at around the house or where you see electricity. It was mentioned lights at home. Jacqueline, thanks, Jacqueline. And Marianne said Christmas tree lights. How appropriate to use that. I've got mine set up on the clapper, believe it or not. It's pretty awesome. And Carly says she uses electricity for her phone on which she is watching this broadcast, and she is watching this from her pottery class. Amazing, amazing. What's also amazing is what Brian was doing upstairs. I just wanted to just recap a little bit there. He had a lot of uncontrolled electricity that was happening, and he was kind of having it arc from the Tesla coil and to the ball and powering up that light bulb. Of course, he was doing that in a safe way. We know what we're doing, but it does seem a little bit frightening, and it should, because electricity can be very, very powerful. And it's super important to be very careful and safe around electricity, especially high voltage, like power lines. Especially because if you have anything like arcing in a downed power line situation, for example, it can be very dangerous. So safety, super important. And we brought the right people here to talk about that. We brought Jamie. We met him earlier, and Jamie has exactly that for us. Hey, Jamie, we're ready for you. What you got?
Hey there, Stefano. Thanks for that. So we were talking about electricity, and we can also talk about how electricity travels. So actually, Stefano, I brought a power line with me here today, and this is what we can use to have controlled electricity. However, we were talking about a power line can come down, and that can be dangerous, and that can create uncontrolled electricity. So throughout this show, we want to help you at home get prepared for power outages and for winter safety. And a great thing to get prepared is to get prepared if you're ever in a motor vehicle accident situation with a down power line. So the reason we want to get prepared around that is if we ever have that down power line, that drooping power line, it can actually be grounded and create an energized situation around it. So I actually brought along with me a video from one of our spokesperson, Dave. You may have seen him before. And he's going to talk a bit about exactly what we need to do in that motor vehicle accident situation.
Hi everyone, Dave from BC Hydro here. I love the open road, but as you know, car accidents can happen. Now, a car accident involving a power line or power pole can be particularly deadly. First of all, if you're in a car accident involving a power pole or power line, the best thing you can do is stay in your car. If you're not injured and there's no imminent danger or fire, stay put and dial 911. If you're certain you can drive away safely, try and get at least 10 meters from the downed line. Now, if you absolutely need to exit the vehicle, make sure to jump, landing on both feet while not touching any part of the car, like this. Then shuffle away at least 10 meters. Drive safely out there, everybody, and remember, if you're in a car accident involving a power line, follow these steps to help you stay safe. Remember, if it's a downed line, it's a danger, dial 911. Visit bchydro.com/besafe to learn the steps to safety.
Wow, that's really great advice. I, didn't really know that before. It must be pretty scary to be in a car crash with the power line involved. I mean, car crashes alone, but of course, when you amp it up with that power line situation, that really, it's important to understand what's going on. Jamie, have you ever been in a situation where you've had an accident around a power line or anything like that?
Fortunately, I haven't been in that situation, but actually one of our power line technicians here at BC Hydro, Kirk Liu, has actually been in a situation with a motor vehicle accident involving our electrical equipment. So maybe he could tell us a bit about that.
Cool.
Hi there, my name is Kirk Liu. I'm a power line technician with BC Hydro. I've been to many motor vehicle accidents. This one time, there was this truck came down the road, crashed into the pole. It actually flipped and rolled over on its side, and then the pole fell over right next to it, dropping the lines on top of the truck. I arrived on scene. Firefighters were already there, keeping everybody back. First thing I did was ask what happened to figure out what the situation was. I found out there was a guy still in the truck. So immediately I set up the truck, tested the power lines to make sure they're de-energized, notified our control center to make sure that he knew where I was working. Tested, grounded the wires to remove all dangerous electrical potential. And then I ushered the firefighters in, and they were able to rip open the sunroof of the truck to get the guy out of the vehicle.
That is amazing. The truck was on its side and they had to cut the driver out through the sunroof. Amazing. That is no small task. It's pretty lucky that Kirk was there. I wonder, when the power lines go down like that and that situation happens, the power goes out for other people too. So I want to ask you folks in the chat right now, what do you miss most during a power outage? What is it, the thing you go, oh, I needed this thing? Put that in the chat. Quite curious. And because after that happens, and they would have obviously safely gotten the person out of that car, then the next steps, of course, is dealing with getting the power back up. Jamie, what happens next in that kind of situation?
Exactly, Stefano. And it's a lot of work, actually. So we want to minimize the amount of people who are without power.
Yeah.
And maybe Kirk can tell us a bit more about what's involved with that process of getting power back on.
Okay, thanks.
I was able to call a crew to come out to make repairs. I have to go through the process of isolating the problem area as small as possible. That way, as few customers are affected, and that involves me driving around to all the different switches and using my bucket truck and the tools, isolating the area that's affected.
That is a very great question that came up there. Dave also talked about staying in your car. So for all of you at home, thank you for those answers. I'm just going to get to those in a second. But I would like you to also put into the chat why you think it's important, why you might think it's important to stay in your car in that situation. Now, what somebody said in the chat about what you miss when the power goes out is you like lighting up candles. That's a great bright side of things to look at. And I'm just going to ask Jamie, what is it that you miss when the power goes out?
Oh, I miss a lot of things. I mean, obviously, when we have a power goes out, we miss using some of our electronics at home and things like that. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there, but we want to make sure that we get prepared for these types of situations especially coming into winter storms when we have these power outages.
Right. It's not just a car accident that would necessarily cause a power outage. There's the weather, of course. And we had a big bunch of windy weather recently, and some power went out, and I'm sure BC Hydro did their best and get things up and running as soon as they could. So thank you for that, obviously. So I'm just checking in with the chat there if there's anybody has any ideas why they think it's important that they stay in their car after potentially seeing some downed power lines? You can keep those answers coming throughout as well. I mean, if there's anything, Jamie, that you want to encourage them to ask you or me.
Oh yes, no, of course. And if you have any questions for me or for Stefano, don't hesitate to put that in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that throughout the show. And hopefully at the end we can get to your questions. So just keep those questions coming throughout the show.
Right,
and
well,
then
I do know somebody who probably has an idea of why it's important to stay in your car, and that's probably Kirk.
yeah, why don't we go back to Kirk and he can tell us a bit more about that motor vehicle accident situation and staying in your car.
Right now.
If you get in a car accident involving down power lines, it's safest to stay in your car. If you leave your car, you could be exposing yourself to electrical hazards. You should only leave your car if there is an immediate hazard such as a fire.
Oh, we're back. That was amazing. Great. That was another great question popped up there about the shuffling. And Dave also talked about shuffling and showed us what a great way to jump out of your car with 2 feet. So if you want to do that right now in your living rooms, you can do that right now. You just get up, you jump, and then you shuffle. And shuffling basically just means don't lift those feet. That arcing that I talked about earlier, which can be quite dangerous, is a thing you want to avoid in that situation. So great tips right there. In fact, I'm just wondering if Brian's back. He's been wandering around the dome for a while here. We're closed right now. It's nighttime, but he's probably just setting something up. Oh, there, he's getting ready for something. Oh, nope, that was a false alarm. So, you know what? Let's hear one more time from Kirk and see if he's got any last words for us for safety, and we'll come back and hopefully Brian will be with us.
If you find yourself near a down power line, you should shuffle away. The electricity flows through the ground, and by stepping, it can flow through you. So by shuffling with your feet together, the electricity won't flow through you, and you can get away.
Oh, there, in the chat, Ashley?
Oh, because don't leave your car because you'll get electrocuted.
Yeah, straight up. Who said that?
Steel.
Steel, you got my answers. Don't get out of the car because you might get electrocuted. Of course, obviously, taking care of all the safety concerns and understanding the full picture around the vehicle. And this is true, of course, if you see a down power line in a weather type situation. You see oftentimes in the news coverage and footage of people all gathered around when there's a tree down. And that's probably well after the 911 call and other safety measures have been taken place. But certainly, if you see something, stay far back, 10 meters, as Dave said earlier, and call 911 because, you know, it's not a little Tesla coil, it's a big power line. Let's see here. Yeah, I got some good things. Ah! Brian! There he is!
Hi, everybody. We made it down. This is a big building. Well, we've been talking about lights a little bit. I wanted to show you some more cool things around lights. I've been watching on the phone some of your comments coming in. Christmas tree lights, lights in the house. We were showing you before. These are some of the big LED lights we have on the dome of Science World. And of course, we were with the Tesla coil. We tried lighting up this fluorescent tube. I want to try something a little bit different in this big box here. We're going to create a light bulb out of something kind of unusual. Now for this, we've been talking a bit for electrical safety. You want to be careful around yourself because electrical energy likes to pass through us because we are very wet and we're very salty. So I want you to think, I'm going to use some food for this. Put in the chat if you have an idea of a food that is wet and salty. And I might try to see if I can light that up a little bit for you. Put those into the chat. As Jamie was mentioning before, be sure also to add your questions in the chat. If there's anything about any of the demonstrations, about how we were playing with the dome upstairs, how we're using the Tesla coil, Stefano and his energy stick, the power lines that Jamie was showing you, or any of the things that Dave and Kurt have been showing us coming along. Right now, I'm going to show you some of the safety features I have around this little box here. Because we're going to be working with electrical current, I want to make sure I'm keeping myself safe. There's actually 3 ways that I keep safe around this thing. The first is we're using this big red box here. This is like a giant dimmer switch that you have for your lights at home. And I'm not going to turn that on the front here until I'm ready to use it. I'm going to keep that turned off. Second thing, this little box that is connected to that, I'm not going to plug it in until it's time to use it. That's thing number 2. And the last thing, in the top of this box itself, You might even be able to see over on the side there. There's a little switch. There's a little tiny click here. So no electrical current is going to flow unless I've got that box closed. The switch is there, and my hands are completely clear away from it. All right, before we get into that, I'm going to ask Ashley, does anyone have any ideas for wet, salty foods? A jar of garlic stuffed olives? That is awesome. I'll tell you, I've done this demonstration many times. I have never used a garlic stuffed olive, but you have inspired me. Any other wet, salty foods coming up? Lots of pasta. Actually, pasta's pretty good, wet and salty. It's a little bit, almost too wet sometimes. It's hard to get it to line up exactly as you like. What else have we got there? I'm loving these foods. A cucumber. Cucumber is in the right ballpark. I'm actually going to take a cucumber and add some extra salt and some vinegar. We're going to use a pickle. Now, this may seem like a weird thing to try and light up. Believe it or not, scientists will sometimes study really unusual things. There's a research paper that was published on all kinds of different vegetables to see which one would light up the best. They use bok choy, they use pickles. We like to see because it's a good variable. Any kind of experiment, you want to take variables, change things, and see if you can surprise yourself and learn new things. So here, this is a dill pickle. It's also a sign that I need to work out more. All right. Our pickle is very, very salty. As we mentioned before, I'm going to double check. My box is off. It's not plugged in. I'm going to open the little switch and put the pickle between these two little lights. Now, normally, if I had a whole bunch of people in the room with me, I would get them to let me know when they observe something by going ooh and ah. Now, you can type ooh and ah, or you can put little emojis in the chat. If you see something that is intriguing or surprises you or impresses you, we're going to close the box, clicking the switch. Only now, we're going to plug in the box. And only after that are we going to turn on the switch and slowly turn up the power. So, watch our pickle. Slowly we turn up. Not a turnip, a pickle. We haven't actually tried this with turnips either. All right, I'm seeing a little something close here. If you see anything, be sure to put it in the chat back and forth there. The other thing I'll get you to rate up if you like. Why do you think this would be a good idea or a bad idea to try and light up your house with one of these? Okay? If you think this is going to be the next great light bulb technology, we've had incandescent, fluorescent, LEDs, and now maybe pickles. Will pickles be the next type of lights that everybody wants to have in their house? All right. Anything coming up in the chat there, Ashley? Yeah. It looks like a Christmas pickle. That's actually, that is great. And for those who are not familiar with Christmas pickle, I only learned about this a couple of years ago. It's, I believe, a German tradition that you will hang a pickle on your tree somewhere. And the person who finds the pickle wins some sort of prize or something that way. Don't use a real pickle, because I think it would get quite bad after a while. All right, Ashley, you're waving your hand. Something else is coming up. Will the pickle explode? Callista, that is an excellent question. We are very careful to keep the current at a level that our pickle does not explode here. But it's funny you should say that, because Science World has actually been around for over 30 years. We celebrated our birthday earlier this year. We had a great live stream to talk to all of you. When I first started working at Science World, we used to do a demonstration called the exploding zucchini. And we used a device called a capacitor, which stores a whole bunch of electric charge. Electric charge is like when you rub a balloon on your head. We had so much electric charge, we would let it go through the zucchini, vaporize all of the water inside, and pfft, zucchini everywhere. Well, anybody have ideas why this might not be a good thing to light up your house with? You are correct. I don't know if you can smell it at home here, but if we waft that over there, burning pickle is not necessarily a smell you want to have around your house all of the time. So we talked some safety on here. One thing you can do for winter safety is to be prepared, to have things like emergency kits around. And to tell us a little bit more about that, Jamie, what are some good things to keep around when you want to stay safe?
Oh, exactly. Thanks, Brian. Some things we want to keep around to keep us safe. I actually brought something along with me, which is my emergency kit here. So I brought along an emergency kit because putting together an emergency kit with your family and your friends is a great way to get prepared for the winter storm season for power outages. And then also remember, if you see a down power line, it's a danger and you need to stay back at least 10 meters and then dial 911. And also just remember to let your friends know, your family know about getting prepared around winter storm season and making an emergency kit at home. And if you also had any other you want to do some other activities around winter safety, electrical safety, you can go to schools.bchydro.com and take a look. And we have some great activities on there that you can do at home. And then maybe Brian, we can let us a little bit more maybe about electrical safety, or maybe we had some questions about electrical safety throughout our presentation.
Yeah, we've been asking you to type some questions in the chat there. So if any of you had any things you were curious about, Ashley, any questions been coming up? What should you do if your power goes out? That's a great question. Or what are some things you can do to stay safe, to be prepared for when the power comes back on?
Yeah, that's a great question there. And we were talking a bit about how we stay safe if we see a down power line. But if our power goes out at home, we want the best way to, if we go on our phone, or maybe we ask our parents if they have their phone, they can check, see if the outage has been reported. And then if that outage hasn't been reported, to let BC Hydro know, they can report the outage online. And then also just to stay updated, when maybe that power is going to come back on, you can do that online through our website, bchydro.com, and just check on that outage information.
Yeah, it's great to have that kind of data, that kind of information coming in. It's almost like being a detective coming through. The more that the hydro technicians can know, okay, the power's out here, 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 and here, that helps trace down where the source of the problem might be. Any other questions coming in?
How can I save power?
How can you save power? That's a great question.
Saving power, saving electricity, it's a great thing, and a lot of things we talk about is conservation. So one of the biggest things I like to talk about, we have a lot of them around us here in the studio, is lights. And one of those things we can do at home is we can check to see if we have LED light bulbs at home, which are a great way that we could save on power at home and conserve that electricity.
Yes, I recommend LED lights over pickle lights. They are not very energy efficient for the amount of energy that goes into the amount of light you get out. Ashley, what else would people like to know?
Are there any safe electricity experiments I can do at home?
Are there safe electrical experiments to do at home? That is such a great question. They were talking a little bit about the BC Hydro website. You can also check out the Science World website, scienceworld.ca/resources. A resource to try at home, RESOURCES, scienceworld.ca/resources. We have all kinds of different activities you can try at home on different topic areas. One of them is electricity. Some great ones that I like to try is just with static electricity. You can take a balloon, rub it on your head. You can try and pick up little pieces of paper. You can even make water, like dripping water faucet tap. You can move that with electric charge. The other thing that's kind of fun that you'll find on our website, you can make circuits out of Play-Doh. There's a special recipe that you can make conductive Play-Doh. And so you don't need the big power line wires and things like we have here. You can actually just roll out the Play-Doh and try with a simple battery and a little LED light. You can make a circuit at home. Love it. Ashley.
What are some items I should need in my emergency kit?
Oh, I want to know this too, Jamie. What are the things that should be in your kit? And maybe what are some things that people put in that they shouldn't really worry about?
Well, that's a great question, Ryan. And one of the things we want to, it's pretty obvious, but sometimes we forget, we want to make sure we have a flashlight in that emergency kit. Because if the power goes out, we want to make sure we see where we're going to go. And then we also want another important thing we could have in our emergency kit at home. Maybe we have some water in there. We also have a plan for what we're going to do in case of the emergency, so we have that written out. And there's all sorts of other things you can check what to put in your kit, and making sure that that stays up to date, that we have all your supplies in your kit ready in case we end up in that power outage situation or just another storm situation.
Yeah. I was talking to someone once who said they've got their emergency kit and they had all this canned food, and then they put an electric can opener in their kit. So they hadn't quite made some of the connections that we need there. All right, Ashley, are we all done there? Oh, thank you so much for all of your great questions. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. As we come towards the end of 2020, we asked you to consider Science World when you're looking at some of your end-of-year donations. Science World is a charitable organization. It's been a weird, rough year for a lot of charities out there, and by supporting Science World, you're supporting innovation, you're supporting scientists, you're supporting More nerds in the world, which I think we will all agree is something the world could use more of here. Once again, those websites, scienceworld.ca/resources. Jamie, what's yours again?
And also, if we wanted to look up at any other activities that we could do around electrical safety, you can check out schools.bchydro.com.
Schools.bchydro.com. Jamie, thank you so much for being here with us, for bringing in Dave and Kurt and all the gang. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you again next time.